transfer talk on the Copper Club, and I'm delighted to be joined by Brazilian journalist Victor Bazella, who's going to talk us through about Corinthians Carlos Miguel and his links to Nottingham Forest. Victor, thanks for joining me first and foremost.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the invite, Nathan. I'm here to answer you whatever I can answer about the Carlos Miguel, the goalkeeper, that's going to Forest.
Yeah, of course. Your tweet this morning caused quite a stir in terms of Carlos Miguel is ready to play in the Premier League for Nottingham Forest. Can you tell me more about that deal? Because there's rumours spreading that West Ham are trying to hijack that. Is there any truth in that at all?
Yeah, my information is that it's everything right with the Nottingham Forest, and the Carlos go to play in this place, not in West Ham or anything. There is another club of French that's trying to keep contact with him, but he decided to play by Forest. He has some players, some friends in Forest like Murilo, the defender, because they play together in Corinthians, and it's safe for him to start to play in Europe in Premier League, playing for Forest. So he decided this, and with all stuff and everybody told to me that it's closed the deal. In a few days, the nothing can present him and tell to everybody that it's another goalkeeper from the squad.
A deal which has surprised many, come out of nowhere, and there's rumours around, or just some clarification really, Victor, around that €4 million release clause. Can you shed any light on that at all? Because I think that surprised many as to how low the fee actually is.
Yeah, this is a problem because Corinthians have changed the staff, the president, and so the last year the staff of Carlos Miguel have a deal with the last president that the price is gonna be like a smaller one, like €4 million. In the past, it was 50, so a huge difference, and why they tell like this is working, because if Carlos Miguel, Corinthians has Cássio, right? Like 2 weeks ago, Cássio, the big idol of the club, maybe the biggest one of the history of the club, the Corinthians, left the club and now is in Cruzeiro. But it was very hard, this process, like the biggest Cássio leaving Corinthians, and the supporters talking to him in the social media, and it was a high pressure because Corinthians not in a good moment, financial moment, technical moment, and
Yeah.
it was very hard for the supporters and for Cássio this moment, after 12 years playing like the man goalkeeper, and he left like 2 weeks ago, and everybody was like, whoa, now we have Carlos Miguel, the opportunity to see him because it's a huge goalkeeper. Everybody it pretends to see more. It's a great goalkeeper here in Brazil, and the fans, the supporters, was like waiting for this moment. And more than this, the Carlos Miguel played with the captain for the Corinthians last games. So was a leadership of this club nowadays. Like 3 years ago, he arrived here and know everybody, know the supporters, know the stadium, everything. So everybody here, the media, was trying to understand how this price was like €4 million. This is unbelievable for a big club in Brazil. It's a cheapest one. And the staff of Carlos Miguel answered like it was a deal with the last president of Corinthians, that in the third year of the contract, this value was very cheap because the Corinthians have Cássio in the past, and everybody was afraid about the high price and for the continuation of career of Carlos Miguel. Do you understand me?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely caught people off guard. And speaking with Forest fans today, obviously they've been very keen to find out more about this particular deal. There's obviously been a little bit of negativity or maybe curiosity in the fact that he hasn't played many games in his career, and he's got to the age of 25 and he's only become a first teamer because of Casio leaving. Why do you think that is? Why do you think Miguel, who's highly rated in Brazil but hasn't played too many games?
This is so common in Brazil. When a big club has an idol like Cássio or Marcos or Rogério Ceni in São Paulo in the past, uh, the club try to prepare someone to the transfer, but it's hard because the goalkeeper have more conditional to play more and more and more. Just to let you know, Casio has more than 700 games using the Corinthians shirt. So it's hard for the substituto to wait. And the Corinthians try with Carlos Miguel to prepare him a long time for this moment. And it's because of these small games that Carlos Miguel play for Corinthians, because he was waiting a long time for Cássio left. So it's a huge moment for the supporters, for the fans, because everybody's waiting a long time for Carlos Miguel also, and it's crazy, a long time, like 3 years waiting, and after 6 games, 7 games, okay, I'm going, bye bye.
It's, as you touched on there, Corinthians are in a situation where they need to sell players. It's mainly been Wesley who's been looked at for around 25, 30 million. So maybe fans weren't expecting, as you said, he's only played 6, 7 games, Sudamericana and Brasileiro, before potentially taking that move across. I just want to ask you before I let you go, Victor, again, thanks for your time. But I just wanted to ask you really, do you think that he's ready for the move to the Premier League? It come quite early? Do you think he'll probably come in as a backup goalkeeper at Nottingham Forest? Or do you think that he has the chance and he has the qualities? He's been patient for long enough now to come in and challenge for that number one shirt.
Yeah, it's very hard to answer this because, like we are talking here, it's a long time just looking him a couple very small of games in the year. So, like the last year, 20 games, 15 games, and now less than 10 games. So it's hard to answer if he's prepared. I think he has a lot of qualities, a lot of skills to play Premier League. I think he's much better than when he arrived in Corinthians to play with the foot, and now he can play like with the right foot and the left foot, and he has a good game with the ball, and he can put the forward to run. He can make a long distribution of the ball. So I think he has the skills to play the Premier League. And behind of the goal, he's very good. It's very hard to beat him. It's very hard to shoot and the ball move him. He's very very fast, like very tall, more than 2 meters, but is very fast, go very fast to the floor, to the pitch. So I think it's going to be a great surprise for the first fans. And I think he's looking for Murilo, and this is an example is very very valid for him. Like Murilo here wasn't like a big star when he started. Never in his career, like until 20 years, was a star of Brazil or a projection very, very big for him. And when he arrived in Forest, yeah, the fans of the club can talk more about him than me. Was one of the best players of the squad in the year, in the season. So I think it's gonna be hard for him because a different place, a different league, very strong. For me, it's the better one in the world. But I think like in 1 year, he has the condition to be uh, idol of the Forest fans.
Great. Look, Victor, I really appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you very much for coming on and talking to us on the Cop Club.
Thank you so much, Nathan. My sorry for my English. If someone is not understanding me, my sorry. Thank you.
Thanks. Peter, I've just spoke to Victor Bazella, who's told me that Nottingham Forest have signed Carlos Miguel. But we'll part that to one side. We're not here to spread rumours. We're just going to talk about the player profile. And look, South American links with Nottingham Forest don't surprise me anymore. But this one did. It came out of nowhere. I've been sort of looking at goalkeepers for Forest to potentially exploit in that market. And the obvious one being Benzo, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about in a little bit. But what's your thoughts, first of all, on Miguel and the link to Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, I think nobody expected it really. Even me being the hardcore Brazil fan that I am, I've never actually expected him to make such a quick jump to the PL. I kind of get why because of his stature, and we'll probably touch upon that. But yeah, it is quite surprising. It is quite surprising for a number of reasons. It's just I feel the small sample size in him that we've seen over the course of the last 3 years with Corinthians being, I think, no more than what 40 appearances or so. I'd even think it's less, but
It's less, yeah.
don't quote me on that. Obviously, and having said that, making the jump to Nottingham Forest, and you mentioned Bento as well. And I know Forest have PSR issues and they might have to sell players, but I feel it's a risk, a small risk considering the fee, but it's still a risk. And I would have expected maybe Forest to be a bit more, how do I put it, confident in finding the number one based off the fact that we'll probably battle relegation again next year. No disrespect, hopefully.
It's been a difficult period with Forest and goalkeepers ever since Bryce Samba moved across. Forest have invested quite a bit of money, and I think that's the general consensus from fans that why aren't they looking to invest a good amount of money and get a strong number one in? Because I can't sit here and tell you now whether he will come in and be number one or number two or even number three. I think he will come in as a backup to begin with. But that's what he's been constantly been doing in Brazil for the last few seasons behind Casio, as Victor sort of helped to explain that situation. But let's have a look at his profile. I know it's really surprising, but we are seeing players move across earlier and earlier. It is such a small sample at the moment because, look, even Mario, he had 20-odd games to his name and absolutely bossed it for the under-20s. So we had a lot more to actually visually see there from him. And Wesley, who's been linked from Corinthians, has had almost a good 12 months now with the first team. But we haven't had that with Miguel. He's only had 6-8 games this season, really. But there's enough to go on to sort of put a profile together. Is he ready for the Premier League? I don't think I can particularly answer that question. But we can go into his player profile and actually describe. Well, Peter, if you think he maybe is, feel free to butt in. But actually, looking at his profile, there's a lot to like, but there's still some cause for concern from what I've seen this season. But look, let's start with some positives. Peter, name something which you've seen from him, which you like.
Oh yeah, I think just to answer your question real quick, I can't answer it either, but I'd say with goalkeepers, the one thing you can always expect is that's the one position that can make us just such a sudden jump. It could easily need 4 to 5 games. And yes, your goalkeeper is half your team. We know that cliche already, and to a degree it's true, but given his stature, as I mentioned, I think he sits at 2 meters tall and just a little up above that. And he's very confident in collecting crosses. He's very physical in a way. And that's one thing that for the Premier League is very key. I think a lot of goalkeepers, with kind of the modern day goalkeeper being more ball oriented compared to before, not obviously there are others that claim crosses and are confident in the small penalty area, but I'm saying that with his stature, that's the one thing you look at him and just say, okay, cool, we shouldn't be having so much issues from set pieces, especially in the closer area close to goal. Especially you also have Willy Bolly there. You have, yes, Murillo isn't exactly the aerial presence that you'd expect, but that's one thing that you can definitely aid you.
I think Forest fans are more wary about who comes in because of the amount of set pieces and the goals we conceded from last season. And I do echo your thoughts on he's very confident from collecting crosses because he's a giant. He's 6'8". You'd expect that. But looking at his profile a little bit closer from some games this season, and look, maybe because he's still finding his feet as a first team regular. Yes, he got given the captain's armband for the last game. Maybe there was a reason behind that. I'm not 100% sure. But he's a huge puncher of the ball when it comes to crosses from corners or attacking set pieces when other teams or opposing teams crowd areas. We've seen that a couple of times this season in both the Sudamericana and also Serie A. which for me is potentially a little bit of a red flag if you're bringing in a 6'8" goalkeeper who can't be completely commanding. But then you could flip it around and say, well, if he's got such a long reach from a punch, no one's going to be able to rival that. It'd be a case of learning to see if he can develop that part of his game. Again, only less than 10 appearances this season. But like you said, comfortable from crosses. And a huge part of his game, which I really like, is just his quick distribution out of his hands with his feet. There's been plenty of occasions this season where he's been looking to sort of build out from the back within seconds, but accurate as well. So it's almost his split decision making, whether it's saving shots, getting down, because for a 6'8" to get up and down, like he does it quite quickly, to be honest with you. His quick decision making is there, but it's when he has time, there's been a few errors creep into his game when he's been a little bit lethargic, and he's in the Premier League, you're going to get found out. He can get away with it in the Sudamericano in Brazil, which he has done. But in the Premier League, if that happens one or two times, look what happened to Matt Turner over the last 12 months at Nottingham Forest. Yeah. He did that a few times, and he was sort of left out to dry, really, and Nottingham Forest fans didn't want him anymore. So it's a case of, if he does come across, he needs to sort of iron out a few part of his game. But then again, speaking to more people from Brazil today, he's so highly rated, and I honestly, I didn't realise how high in regard he was, to be honest with you. An interesting profile, a solid signing. But a few accounts on Twitter have come out today and been like, this kid, he's 25, almost 26, can walk into a side. It's just the golfing difference from Brazil to Premier League. I think we saw glimpses with, obviously, Murillo, and we saw Danilo were more than capable of making a step up. Danilo, obviously, far more proven. But this one, we're not going on a lot at the moment, so it's hard to actually say that answer, which Nottingham Forest fans want, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. As I said, small sample size is definitely kind of an issue when it comes to making the proper judgment. Like, compared to someone like Bento, you definitely think if someone had to pick out a goalkeeper from Brazil immediately, you just go Bento and just forget about it. Yes. But Miguel is one that you don't need a lot sometimes to risk it all. And as I said, given the price, you only sign him for what, 3-point-something million pounds?
3.5, yeah.
Yeah. So it is a risk, absolutely, in a position that Forest do need kind of stability, I'd say. But at the same time, when alluding to Murillo as well, yes, it was under 20 football, but it does seem like Forest's analytical team, the scouting department, or whichever one was like key to acquiring the player, was very confident in signing him, and look how he's turned up. So I wouldn't go against it. There's yes, again, small sample size, but a proven track record there in terms of just scouting and making sure that might be the right player. And also, to add to that, these days in football, it just feels like the jump that certain players are able to make, as I mentioned, especially with goalkeepers, is just it's tightening up. It's marginal. Yes, some players really do need to take the time and settle into size, but with Murillo being there from a personal standpoint and shouldn't point any difficulties, and now it's just about getting football under his feet. It will be a different level, yes, but I feel much more confident in a 205 centimeter goalkeeper coming in and being given a shot at 3.5 million of price, because at the end of the day, expectations also come into play, and I don't think anybody from Forest fans would say, "Oh, come on, we've signed Edwin van der Sar in his peak, right? On a free transfer. We expect him to get us to the Europa League final." No, I suspect they just expect to hopefully see a surprise signing under the radar flourish, and as such, maybe become the team's long-term starter. As you said, he's 25, so world at his feet, really, at this point.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of positives which we've spoken about and obviously tweeted about today, which Forest fans can go and see. And it's easy to be more critical and negative when a keeper makes mistakes. I think it's only worth highlighting the set piece error but the fact he is good with his feet as well, which is good to know. It's just a case of probably going to a Premier League club and learning how to distribute quickly and effectively and not put yourself in trouble. It is small details when you think about it. There's a lot of positives there. Like you said, 3.5 million. calculated risk, but it's good to see, right? Teams like Brighton, Wolves, Nottingham Forest all going straight to the source, because if they prove themselves in Europe in 12 months' time, Nottingham Forest can't afford these players. So, look, the fact that Mario has been a huge influence as well, it indicates that potentially the Forest scouting team once again at it. But look, we'll park it there for now, Peter. Keep an eye on the deal. And yeah, for more transfer talk, head over to the Copper Club YouTube page throughout the summer.